All right. So we are going to talk about a couple different things. Y'all hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up there. Donnie, I can see Donnie gives me the thumbs up. Great. I'm going to share my screen with you all. Ideally. I got home, ran home from work to get here and realized that my Wi-Fi had gone out. So it's back and I'm happy. So I'm going to open up MyViewBoard software. I'm on my Microsoft Surface. I toyed with the idea of going on a ViewSonic board, but I just decided this would be the easiest because I wanted to just focus on just a couple things. So here we go. We've got MyViewBoard up. And as we talked about this the other day, is that on Tuesday, people that were asking questions about so where do I log in? You log in over here if you're going to use the companion app on your phone. But it normally pops up and it's not here. So what do I do? Well, if you keep looking down here, you will see that there is a little MyViewBoard silhouette icon. So if you touch that, it will come right back up. And then I'm going to take my phone here and I have downloaded the companion app for ViewSonic. I don't know how well you can see that there, but I'm going to open up the companion app. And in that companion app, it has a QR code. I'm just going to touch that. Because I'm logged in with my ViewSonic trainer account, it's going to automatically become my board. And the little MyViewBoard that you see in the bottom switches to my avatar. So you see my avatar down here. You should also see my avatar right up here. And notice it says Teacher Jeff, and you can do that in the settings at myviewboard.com. So we are here in the, let's see if I can go down to one here. All right. So I am logged in and I'm on my PC. And the first thing that I want to talk about for people, and I don't know that if it's been brought up in all of the series, is one of the things that ViewSonic has that just I think is absolutely amazing is their own homemade wiki. So if I go to the upper right-hand corner and I hit the gear, and you'll see that the settings comes up, my favorite settings comes up, figuring out how long this thing will run before it falls asleep. Notice I leave it on infinity. It gives me the ability to download the app for the companion app for either Google Play or Apple Store. It's this question though, right here. So we can go through some basic, we can go through some advanced, and these are, and every time you log in, it's going to be there. But from one of my favorite things here is this MyViewBoard Wiki. So if I pull that up, it opens it up in the little web browser that they have. And one of the things that I could do to cheat here, if I wanted to keep this here to look at later, I can move it, of course. I can resize it. Let me try to move it a little bit here. And I didn't want to do that. This is what happens when I'm on my board here, not on my, I want the wiki, and I can literally go in here and I can search right on the wiki. So if we wanted to go in here and we wanted to talk about anything that we were unsure of, how do I do infinite copy? How do I, Mary was asking about how I do throw to viewboard, just anything that you need, I can search for this. And usually you'll see plenty of articles coming up. I just needed to show you that because I know the crew at ViewSonic, a lot of them educators have worked really hard to make sure this thing is almost like a version of Wikipedia here on ViewSonic. And if you wanted to pin this to your page here while we were talking about this, or if you were going to train some of your peers, you just click add it to the web page as a widget. And now we have MyViewBoard, and we can leave it right on side. And I can actually, this thing is a working widget of the viewboard, MyViewBoard.
I'm still laughing at the phrase, throw my viewboard. I feel like
throw to, Donnie, throw to my viewboard. Throw my viewboard is in Office Space 2.
That is
which
true.
is it's a completely different situation where
it's moved from it's now taking place at the ViewSonic headquarters. Right?
Exactly. It's in Brea and it's not a copier anymore. It's a ViewSonic panel. And Michael Bolton will be there. It'll be amazing. So I wanted to keep it fairly simple today because we don't have tons of time. But
before you go on, I just have to say that I love that you added the embedded browser as a widget on the page. So many times we forget to show that, and it's like a great way to use any of the apps we always use, like PhET, our favorite science and math simulation tool. So I love that you showed that. That's great. Thank you.
Well, and and imagine that it was like there were a number of things, like you said, Mary. Barry, if I want PhET, if I want to have that wiki on there, or if I want to do a Google image search, whatever it would be, to maybe have a page on a stock viewboard thing that is like template with widgets. And so it pops up and then I can easily access those every time, and I could save it as something else. So I could, as we talked about last week, the idea that you could save these things, use them in multiple periods, and then you're not actually going to be affecting the original one. I could reuse it over and over again. So I could save it as a template like that. But I absolutely love the ability to throw these widgets on here, and saving this as its own viewboard file with the widgets on there just saves you a ton of time. So imagine that was a video that we wanted to show. I'm not going to go into detail on that today, but same way that we're seeing the wiki here, this could have been a YouTube video that I wanted to show. This could have been a PhET simulation, as Barry mentioned. So just know that this is a great feature to use, just to pull up if you were. And one of the things that I wanted to talk with Donnie about, as he's an elementary teacher, my major area of focus is high school, is that elementary teachers love to have things pre-created for the kids, because the lessons that they create, they'll tweak from time to time, but they really, they are pretty set in the way they do their curriculum. And I think a high school teacher has a little less set in that way. And so if Donnie were creating for his kids, he's super creative. He would be adding widgets to different things. He would be adding things that spin and copy and things like that. So just know that you've got so many options here in terms of adding functionality to any board that could act as almost like a resource page every time you used it. So that's the first one. The other thing, because I am logged in now, I'm logged into the view board. You will see down here, I keep drawing, I can't help myself. Barry told me to make sure I highlight this. So I'm going to color on this page. You see down here a little thing, and it's actually for participation. So if Donnie had one of these boards and he wanted to have some of his fifth graders come up to the board and maybe assign them each an animal to draw or something like that, if you come down here, and you'll see next to that are the background management, which is Jesse went over that in the 9th of the 10 series here. But I'm going to click participation mode and watch what happens. Essentially, I'm getting a whole new interface here, right? And it's going to take a second because I'm on my home Wi-Fi here. But what I can do is I can say, okay, Donnie, how many kids do you want to have come up? 4.
Okay,
2.
4.
Okay. So Donnie wants 4 kids. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom, and I'm going to touch. It's not 4. Well, how about 3?
3 works.
About 3. Okay. Yeah. So, and as you can see, then participate comes up. If he's got his board mounted flat, each kid can come up, and the beauty of the view board is that it is multi-touch. So I can have kid A using this space. I can have kid B using this space. And then I would put kid Rock over here. So I have each kid could be coming up here. They could be using different colors. It could be erasing. They could be solving. And then we could look at it this way. If you happen to have the ViewSonic panel and you have it where it can be turned into a table, this is where this gets really cool. I can have, there's our 4 kids, Donnie. Now I've got the four kids on here. And then one of the features down here is tabletop layout. So as you can see right now, this is assuming that Donnie would give the taller kids 1 and 2 and the shorter students 3 and 4 to be able to add content here, to draw whatever they wanted to. But what if he was able to take the board and then lay it as a table, as some of the ViewSonic stands will do? Watch when I hit the table feature. Now it's set, and you're going to see it's all wanky here, but now notice the numbers, Donnie. Notice I've got 1 and 2, which would be on one side of the board if it were flat like a table. And I've got 3 and 4, and I could do this up to 6, I believe. So I could literally have 6 kids coming up working on this board, and then I could have them work on this board and then come back. And then I'm going to get out of this mode. And now I've got 6 panels where now we can discuss what the kids did. So yeah, this part. Go ahead,
Jeff,
please.
and I'm just thinking too, from an elementary school perspective, like one of the best ways that teachers can use this, I'm thinking math, right? In elementary school math, we always talk to students how there's no right way to solve a math problem, especially like a word problem. You might have some students that they draw illustrations. Some of them, they might do the old school, long division method. Others, they might be drawing arrays or whatever. So, one of the ways that this could be used, is, hey, students are working at their desks. Maybe you see some of them, they're sketching it out, doing on dry erase boards. Well, in a fun way that you can showcase to the class or give the students a chance to show how they solve the problem. Have all 4 of them come up to the board at once, 6 of them to the board at once. Then boom, you've got a collection of what they did. You can screenshot it. That way you have that documentation that you can then use for later on classes as well.
I love that idea, Donnie. And the idea is making the thinking visible. And exactly as Donnie said, if you're walking around the room and you see 3 different kids, 4 different kids solving it in a little bit different way, just invite them to the board to work their problem out, and then let them go back to their seats or stand there as like a gallery, and then have them explain or walk the whole class through how they solved it. I remember I love that. I had a trigonometry teacher who used to say, how it's like, kids don't understand, well, this took me 4 steps. This took me 2 steps. He always said the fewer the steps, the more elegant the solution was. And I thought that was a fun way to it.
I'm also thinking too, for reading class, this would be super fun for like storyboarding, right?
Yes,
the
absolutely.
Students want to come up and talk about storyboarding, or they go ahead and like retell the character setting, problem, solution. You now have it in 4 different spots that's divided for you pretty evenly.
Absolutely. And notice we do have the spaces from 1 to 6, and the ability to just wipe these things clean, the ability to put it into tabletop mode, change the colors here. So exactly as Donnie said, storyboarding, math, we could do writing in each of these. We could do sensory details in each of these, adjectives, adverbs. There's just so many things I could do, and it's absolutely simple. And then all I've got to do is down here, in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see the X. I touch the X, and now the participation mode is off. So it's just simply a way to get people sharing out, getting people up and doing things. And nobody is better than the elementary school teachers, because keeping the kids moving, keeping them doing things. And this board, I think, just leads us right into that concept. So Donnie, was there anything else with that idea of the collaboration or with the math that you wanted to add there before we move forward?
I've got some other ideas, but I can share later. So if you want to, I know we're short on time, so we are.
The other thing I want to show, and this again, I promised we would do a little elementary and then we would move on to some screen recording. If I go into the pen, remember with anything in the toolbar, you touch it once, it basically selects it, you touch it again, and then you get into everything that I can see. And so I want to go over here. Do you see this little bird, Donnie, on the screen? You see a little bird, and then you see a little pattern, right? If I touch this bird, this is called the shape pen, right? And so the bird is a ViewSonic bird. Now that my shape pen is here, every time I touch this board, I can have little, and then I can touch each one. I can make it bigger if I wanted to. So essentially, I've got the ability to add multiple shapes, to pull them around, to grab a single little bird here, make it larger and bigger. So elementary teachers would love writing with this. If I go back to the shape tool, I don't have to do the bird. I can go in here. One of Donnie's favorite things is a ladybug. So if I wanted to,
I didn't know it was a ladybug.
I'm just making it up, Donnie, because I know there's a ladybug in here, and everybody loves a ladybug.
But Jeff, math, right? Especially for kindergarten, first graders, there's so much, trying to teach students one-to-one correlation, like when you're counting how many ladybugs are there on the screen. The fact that the teacher can physically, with the touch of a button, make them appear as they're counting, that's a pretty invaluable skill. And sometimes when we see these ed tech tools, it's like, oh, that's a neat little trick, but how can I use that? There are 1,000 ways that you could use, whether it be being able to insert widgets or putting it in companion mode. Like the thing about the MyViewBoard app is it's not designed for a particular subject. Like it's got all of these little gadgets and bells and whistles that ultimately, you know, as a creative teacher, that's very cute, Jeff. You spelled ladybug.
Isn't that like Inception, Donnie?
That's meta right there. Yeah. Yeah. Am I dreaming? What level of the dream am I in right now?
Well, and to Donnie's point too, because the elementary teacher, when they see things like this, they go more to that, oh my gosh, all I can do with this. And then I think some of the secondary teachers are like, what am I going to do with that? Well, you don't have to use that. It exists. But the thing for what I wanted to point out, and we talked briefly yesterday, not only do I have the shape tool, but I also have this magic line pen. So I can go in and who doesn't like a good border? I can make it much thicker if I wanted to. And I could really start to put a border around this thing. And every elementary teacher loves him or herself a good border, right? And so what else I can do, let's say you don't like birds, you don't like ladybugs, and you don't like this sort of magic line, you can, from myviewboard.com, you can go into your settings and you can upload, actually, I'm sorry, you can go into your ViewSonic folder in Google Drive and you can upload icons for the shape tool, and you can upload icons for the line tool. So you're not constrained to what ViewSonic has. They are absolutely giving you the option to go in and modify and put whatever you want in there. So if you want crickets, or if you want whatever it would be, you could do that. So just some silly fun there. And I'm going to add another, let me move my floating toolbar, as you can see, moving across the room, aptly named. I can add a different page from here. So imagine, Donnie and I, you were talking about math earlier, and math is one of the most important things to be able to make the thinking visible. So imagine that we're going to talk, and I'm going to dip outside of the elementary realm. And actually, I do teach integrated math to students currently, along with every other multiple subject. I mean, every subject in high school. So I do a lot of math instruction. And if I'm using my view board, one of my favorite things that I can do, so imagine we're going to be solving things with a single variable, equations with one variable. And it's something that I see over and over and over again that kids struggle with. And so I'm thinking, okay, Donnie, what we'll do is I'm going to teach you how to solve a simple problem with a single variable, an equation, and we're going to record it so that I can do multiple things with it. I can put it in a folder in my Google Drive and make that folder accessible to kids. I can pre-record some of these things and then dip into that folder and bring them out on the canvas. I can record just my voice. There's so many things I can do, and I want to demo just a couple things like that. So I am right now going to go, and I'm going to hit. Oh, I'm still in the shape tool. All right, magic line. Go away. Okay, nice, clear. Go back here. Got a regular line here. Okay. I am going to, that's for you, Barry. And I forgot I made this thing nice and fat. So let me go back here, drop this a little bit. All right. See how much fun this can be? I love clearing things like that. Okay, right here. This is where I want to go. And then I'm going to touch this thing. And it's going to pop up with this little floating toolbar. And you can see that I'm just going to hover over each one. I can take a screenshot of the entire screen. I can do a freehand screenshot, so essentially hand-drawn selection. I can do the rectangular area, which most of us are familiar with. And oh, I can open the screen recorder, and I can open an audio recorder. I absolutely love this. So I'm going to do the screen recorder. And what you will see is it's going to allow me to record. Now look, can you see my floating toolbar, Donnie, or not?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great. That was going to worry me.
And
so down here,
foreign language teachers love the just recording audio.
Don't steal my Thunderberry.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not there yet.
Oh.
I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you. So I want to imagine at a time of COVID, I could live stream this. But I want to just record a little video of me solving a problem. Are we ready?
Go.
We're going to get meta. We're doing a recording inside of a recording. I'm going to go with whatever resolution they defaulted me to. Okay, class. So we've been talking about solving equations in a single variable. So let's walk through one. How about if I have something like 4x plus 8 is equal to 24. So I want to solve this. Essentially what that means is I need to get x by itself. So as we have been dealing with equations, we understand, I love the metaphor of a scale. And the fulcrum of that scale is the equal sign. And so what I can do in math is I can add, subtract, multiply, divide, all kinds of things to one side of the equation, as long as I do the same to the other. So if my goal is to get x by itself, here's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to switch colors when I do a next operation. I'm going to subtract 8 from this side. And Donnie, if I do that from one side to keep balance, what do I have to do to the other?
I believe you have to multiply it from the other, subtract it from the other side.
The Kentucky Teacher of the Year, ladies and gentlemen.
That's
okay,
right.
so I can now get rid of that 8 over there. I'm going to bring my 4x down. I'm going to bring my equal sign down. And 24 minus 8 is 16. Now I can see that, switch over to black, that 4x actually means 4 times x. I undo multiplication with division. So remember, whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So I now have 4 by itself, and 16 divided by 4 is actually 4. Now I'm going to I've ran out of space, but we have this little hand tool, which is an infinite canvas. So I'm going to lift that up a little bit.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now I can see that x, get off of that thing, go back to my pen. Now I can see that x is equal to 4. And then I can stop my recording. And so it's going to take can you hear my voice now? So I didn't think I turned it on when I shared my screen.
Well, it's playing through your headphone. So
that's what I thought. Okay. So as it's rendering, I'm hearing it play back right now. So I can pause this thing. I can preview it, decide, hey, is this what I want? This is not what I want. And then I can go over here and I can save this. And what if I go, because I'm a Google school, or if I were a Microsoft school, I could go to OneDrive. I'm going to go into my Google Drive here, and I'm going to go into my drive. And what if I have a folder I created called Teacher Student Reteaching Videos. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to rename this one variable equation. And Donnie, I'd probably put the date. I think we talked about, and let's say, what is today?
September 30th.
9/30/21. And it records as an MP4. I'm going to put it in my teacher reteaching videos, hit OK. And you will see that it uploads to that folder.
Hey, Jeff, Mary is asking where you went to save it. Could you show that part one more time?
I sure can. So now notice you don't see it on the screen anymore because it's saved inside of my Google Drive. So Mary, I'm just going to do a real quick recording again, just so you can see. I'm going to record. Actually, let me stop that. I'm going to do it again. You see down here where I've got the options here to do a screen selection, do a live stream. I want to do just a recording. I'm going to hit that recording, and I know then it's going to come up with the video resolution. I'm just going to go with the default that they gave me. It's going to go 3, 2, 1 countdown.
I feel like it needs to have the Hollywood like.
I know, right? And in the bottom right-hand corner, you're going to see the time code working its way up. It starts recording right after it gets to 3, 2, 1. The minute I hit stop, Mary, it pops up. And then as you look here, right here, you see the little icon of the disk. I'm going to hit the icon of that disk. And then it's going to come up. I can save it to my computer. I can save it to my Google Drive, or I can save it to my OneDrive. And
Yeah.
so what I did is this, in this case, is I wanted it. I love saving these to, and Donnie mentioned this the last time we recorded, is I love the idea of saving these sort of recordings for the kids so that I could share the folder with them and they could go back and do the reteaching. And I don't need to be the one teaching that equation. I could also call a kid up to work through that problem and then save her recording and then have that recording accessible to the other kids. Or we could do it as a station model where Donnie, as the elementary teacher, might moderate each kid solving a particular problem. He records each one solving it, and the ones that are good examples, then he pushes out to the rest of the class. Donnie, go ahead.
Yeah, and Mary, I know you said that you are at a, and I know, like, I'm on a MacBook right now. You know, with sometimes Google Drive, it depends on, like, you know, they mentioned that they're going to start putting a storage cap, like where you won't be able to have above a certain number of gigabytes in your drive. So, you know, if you're using a MacBook, usually those have a decent amount of hard drive storage. Might not be a bad idea for teachers to start like saving them to desktops and uploading them to like YouTube or another place, and put together like a YouTube playlist of, hey, here's Mr. Piercey's greatest hits. You can watch it from start to finish.
So I just want to, for Mary, Mary's using the built-in Android, I believe.
Okay.
That is. So Mary, you actually, when you're creating a video, you brought that up, a good point. Only the Windows version allows you to save it to Google Drive currently, but all of that is
currently.
Current. I always say currently because so I have direct line of contact with our product manager for this. So I've obviously, anytime I come across something more than once, I let him know. I'm like, we need to change this. So that is definitely something we are working on. And then obviously, Mary, we talked about the Mac. The new Mac version is coming out, and we'll see how that works with the recording. The recording feature obviously is so important for flipped classroom, for remote and hybrid learning. These are all super important things. So we're very aware of that. Thank you.
And there are Barry screen recording options on the Android version that just don't look exactly the same, to your point. So in any of these versions, we should be able to do some sort of webcasting or screencasting of our ViewBoard in almost every instance of the ViewBoard software. So it exists. I was focusing on the one coming from the software on the Windows, but as Barry said, this sort of thing is something that the team is very committed to. And that's one of the reasons that Donnie and Jesse and I love working with ViewSonic. They're very teacher-centric. We've been fortunate to work with both Google and ViewSonic as teacher experts, quote unquote. And both, what I've noticed in each case is whenever teachers suggest something that they are super responsive. You see things happening in a matter of weeks often when you make a suggestion. So the next piece that I want to show you is I'm going to go with a new blank screen. So imagine that I had this folder full of problems worked out, and I want to bring one into this, to whatever lesson that I'm teaching. Maybe something comes up, and it could be a million things, but we're just going to go with math. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the magic box here. Okay. So I'm going to click on this magic box, and this, that's not what I wanted. I hit the view, go away. I'm going to click on the magic box. There it is. And because I'm logged in, I can access my Google Drive. And we know in my Google Drive, in a perfect world, I have my teacher student reteaching folder. And now notice it has a couple different videos in there. So if I want to pull up another one that I did earlier, I just double click on it. There we go. And it'll download. And what you will see here, just like I did with the wiki, it's going to embed this video into my ViewSonic, my ViewBoard file. So I can close this out. And now here is that video. And what you see in the bottom, move this out of the way, is I have the ability to play that back.
So Jeff, you were talking about meta, inception, like this is a ViewSonic board inside of a ViewSonic board.
It's the coolest thing ever. So, and notice, so the recording of this, and I looked to Donnie and I mean that he's not only a good friend, but he's amazingly creative. So I could see Donnie having a wealth of videos, or any elementary teacher having a wealth of videos that you're not having to recreate the wheel. I can just pull them right in. You saw what I did. I just went into the magic box. I'll do it again. I just go click on the magic box. I go into my OneDrive. I could go into my hard drive. I could go into my my Google Drive, any of those. I click on that, and then I just pull in and download a file right into my MyViewBoard. So I just wanted you to see that it could have been something we recorded, or it could have been something else. And speaking of, the last thing I want to model for us today is, speaking of recording audio, Mary, I'm going to go back to my Google Drive. So if you are using, I had this with a school that was using Read 180, and they wanted to be able to access the Read 180 content on the MyViewBoard in my Google Drive or my computer. I can bring that right into MyViewBoard. So I think I have one. Here it is. This is just a PDF of a letter to my nephew from James Baldwin. And you can see here that it brought it in sort of skinny. I can deal with this. I can move it around. I don't want to work with that too much. But this whole PDF, and this is true of pulling in a Google slideshow, or this is true of pulling in a Microsoft PowerPoint file, is the minute I upload the PDF, or I upload the Google Slides, or I upload the PowerPoint, I'm going to go into the slides viewer just so you can see. What it did is it took that entire PDF and it made it fit to as many pages as it needed to be able to include the whole PDF. So I could move things around depending, Donnie, on what this was. If it was some images that you had that you wanted to work with, it could have been a million things. I could get rid of some of the files if I didn't need them, but I'm able to now then go in. So I'm going to go to the second page. So imagine if I ask a kid to come up and tell me, pick one of the quotes that really stood out to you and come up to the board, and let's create an interactive James Baldwin piece from the students' reactions. So Donnie, I'm going to go to my pen tool and I'm going to grab my little highlighter. We're going to go with the standard yellow. And this particular thing rocks my world right here. I know this piece very, very well. I do it a lot with kids. So imagine this is the one that I highlighted. Just throwing it up here like this. So it's one thing to come up here and highlight it and say, then I'm going to go back to my pen. And this one is me. This is Jeff's. So I'm just going to put my little initials on there. But what if Donnie's like, okay, this is cool that we can start to all interact and come up with a different color. But what if we wanted to record it? So Mary, I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did with the other recording. I'm going to hit that screen recorder and I'm just going to select the audio recording. And then I'm going to ask the kid, or I as the teacher will read, if the kid doesn't want to, we're going to read this quote. I know what the world has done to my brother and how narrowly he survived it. And I know, which is much worse, and that this is the crime of which I accuse my country and my countrymen, and for which neither I nor time nor history will ever forgive them, that they have destroyed and are destroying hundreds of thousands of lives and do not know it and do not want to know it. Stop recording. If I screwed up, I could have re-recorded it. So I'm going to save that back to my Google Drive. And so I will say, Donnie, quote, Baldwin. And I'm going to save that. And now once everybody records, I then can go in as the teacher. I can go into my magic box again, go back to my Google Drive again, go into the teacher student reteaching folder, and Donnie quote Baldwin. And it's going to download it, and then watch what I can do with this. Very similar to the way that we embedded the browser. We now have an embedded file. I can put it over here. And then notice when I click on it, the play tools come at the bottom. I click off of it. So I can click it here with the adornment menu. I can lock it there, and then I can play the quote. Can you hear that?
No, it's playing through your earbuds right
I
now.
know it's a drag.
Yeah.
I sounded really good, by the way. For
We
those
did.
who
We
weren't
heard
able
it.
to.
It was amazing. Well, and Jeff, I think it needs to be reiterated. Like, I mean, that's just a PDF that you uploaded and put it on
Yeah.
separate sections. So, we talk so much about, as teachers, like not having to reinvent the wheel. Google PowerPoint, Google Slides can all be downloaded as PDFs. Google Slides is a great program, right? But it's very difficult to annotate. And sometimes you just want to put text up there and draw on it. So if you have like anything that's been pre-made as a PowerPoint or a PDF, I know you already said that, or a Google slideshow, like I know you already mentioned this, but it's worth repeating. You can go to File, Download As, or Export as a PDF, and then you can upload it right to the software and do this exact same thing with all of your slideshows and everything that you put together.
Let me show you, Donnie. I think I have that, my famous little CTEC mood meter.
Yes.
So I don't even need to convert this to a PDF. I should be able to double click on this CTEC mood meter, and it should pull it in.
Correct.
It should pull it in as images. So now let's go back. It's processing our canvas. And here now is my mood meter. And as Donnie said, now I'm able to go in here and I'm able to annotate right on top of this thing.
Yeah, but this 2 seconds ago, this was a Google slideshow.
Yeah, it's the coolest thing ever. And I know exactly what he's saying. Like, we definitely want to be able to write on this. Now, can I do the recording on this? Yes. Can I record video on just this slide, solving something? Yes. So I've got so many options. And notice, like, literally, Donnie and I wanted to talk about some elementary applications and the screen recorder or capture. That's all we've covered. And we're going to be out of time, but that's the sort of thing.
Just to remind people also that it's PDF, Google Slides, PPTX, so the newest version of PowerPoint, as well as Smart Notebook files and Promethean flip charts.
And I think for a lot of people, Barry, because if you used a smartboard for years, you might have thousands of Smart Notebook files, and being able to quickly convert those from basically one ecosystem to another is such a huge time saver for teachers.
Well, it's so funny because I actually, when I lived in California, I worked with Kate Kinsella of Read 180.
Oh yeah.
And I was working directly, when I worked for Smart, I was working directly with her to create her content into Smart Notebook files. I still have all of those files in my Google Drive that I can now open in MyViewBoard software. So it's really, to continue to be able to access all the things we've spent all this time creating is super important.
Well, and Barry, put yourself in, again, the last thing that I'll bring up, and to that point, that's the beauty of having everything in your Google Drive. So let's say Barry was the reading specialist, and then she comes into Donnie's room, and then she's into my room. All she's got to do is log into her board with her companion app, and all of her content, she doesn't have to take anything with her except her phone and she really didn't even, she could log in with Google if she needed to, just her phone. And that is one of the greatest things about the ViewBoard from a teacher perspective is if the teacher moves, if the kids move, if something's wrong with that particular board, you didn't lose anything. You just need a board and the ability to log in. So to reiterate to restate what we talked about. So we essentially did very simple things. We talked about using the web and browser. We talked about using the embedded web browser to bring in things like the wiki from ViewSonic, to bring in things like FET, to bring in things like YouTube videos, whatever it would be, and they can be sort of embedded right inside of the MyViewBoard file. We looked at the pen tool, and we looked at some fun things for the shape and the line tools for elementary school teachers. We looked at the participate page to be able to switch into participation mode, which is amazing for making thinking visible, for brainstorming, for doing math. And then lastly, one of my favorite things, because I love doing screencasts, is capturing that sort of information on the as you talk through problem solving. So you're not only making thinking visible, but you're letting the students hear that. That can be saved. It could be shared as a folder of videos. It could be re-embedded back into another ViewBoard file. The other thing you could do with it too, by the way, is I'm a big fan of Edpuzzle, I could make my own video. I could upload that video into Edpuzzle, and I could ask some formative assessment questions over that particular lesson or that particular problem type, whatever it would be. But the literal tip of the iceberg here, Barry, on what we could do. But Donnie and I were just happy to hang out with you guys and give you some tips and tricks. And
I'm just still sitting here thinking about what the plot of Office Space 2 ViewSonic would be.
You're Michael Bolton, Donnie. That's all I know is that you are Michael Bolton.
I feel like Dan might invite you for the position of Michael Bolton.
Why should I change my name? Never mind.
Oh yeah, tell us about partial credit.
Donnie, I've written this. This is actually the web address.
Yeah, so we learned a long time ago that, it doesn't always have to be .com or .net. It can be there's like 4,000 things. So Jeff and I and our other friend Jesse Levinsky run a podcast called Partial Credit, and we've had about 75 episodes so far. I've been on for over 3 years now. We're going to be starting our 4th season soon. We talk about everything from education to pop culture to sometimes it's just random shenanigans that happen on the podcast. But if you go to that link, just partial.credit, you can definitely check out some of our episodes. We've had everyone from just us on to even this past summer, we had this year's National Teacher of the Year. So we definitely appreciate any opportunity we have to share about cool apps and tools like ViewSonic puts out there. But we'd love it if you wouldn't mind, feel free to go to partial.credit. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
And actually, one of my absolute favorite guests we've ever had, Mr. Jim Sill, is a member of the participation audience as well. So
the originator of the Silphie, by the way.
Yes.
Just popped on.
We love you, Jim. So if you happen to be in Australia and you want to do some ViewBoard stuff, Jim's your guy. And we're willing, Donnie and I are willing, Jim, to come to Australia to help you, just so you know.
I may be there right now.
But Barry, thanks so much for having us.
Oh my gosh, everyone... you guys were awesome. And to all our participants, it's been 10 amazing episodes, and you have all, our hosts as well as our participants, have inspired me to run these 10 episodes on a more frequent basis. I've gotten such amazing feedback, and all of these will be shared as well. And it just helps us better connect with people and teachers. For me, being out of the classroom this many years, it's so great to hear all these examples and to remember my fond memories of teaching. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, guys. You're the best. And thanks for all the, you're writing the end. Awesome. All right, stay tuned. There will be more sessions, and definitely listen to Partial Credit. They are hilarious and educational. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Barry.
Bye, guys.